What if this recession was planned and coordinated? That's the question we will answer today. I'm going to show you all the details that you need to know right now. I'm going to flip into what's happening with the European energy crisis, and then I'm going to show you what Goldman Sachs said about commodities and your investments. Let's begin. Let's start right here. I actually laughed out loud when I read this article. Neil Kashkari happy to see the stock market's reaction after Jackson Hole. The Minneapolis Fed president sees the sell-off as evidence that the market is taking the central bank's inflation fight seriously. So if we move down into here, you're going to see the quotes, and I literally laughed out loud. Quote, I was actually happy to see how Chair Powell's Jackson Hole speech was received. People now understand the seriousness of our commitment to getting inflation back down to 2%. And you can see it right here for yourself, what that looks like. Quote, don't fight the Fed. And I really love the fact that Bloomberg put that in here because this was the line that everybody loved to use. But now, should you fight the Fed? Well, anyway, stocks and bonds both sold off after Jackson Hole. And you could see that obviously it had an impact. Now, if you're not aware of what happened at Jackson Hole, I did cover this in depth. And I think it's important to look at what occurred over the period, okay? Because leading up into Jackson Hole, the understanding was, look, they're going to pivot. They're not going to be doing this. There's not going to be any tightening or anything. So there's no need to worry. And then it was anything but the sort. Now, let me rant on in a minute. I'm just going to show you these quotes. I certainly was not excited to see the stock market rallying after our last FOMC meeting because I know how committed we all are to getting inflation down. And I think, and somehow, and let me repeat that, and I somehow think the markets were misunderstanding that. To me, this is huge. So here you have Kashkari actually saying what we've been talking about through this period. It's so important to address what they say, look at what they do, and then see their track record. As I will show you momentarily, you can look at the financial conditions index, and that gives you some insight as to where we are. Are they tight? Are they loose? We look at that. And of course, the 1970s, because when you compare the two together, it really makes a lot of sense into why they are doing what they're doing. Let's look at that. Here we have the financial conditions index, and at the bottom there, it says less restrictive. So as you move down, you're watching what happened through 2021 into 2022. Yes, things were real easy, but then in 2022, they started to tighten. But through the period, even after interest rate hikes, quite a few, the markets just said, nah, they can't keep doing this. And yet they still did. And now I wanted to show you something here. Quote, one of the biggest the mistakes that they made in the 1970s at the Fed is that they thought that inflation was on its way down. The economy was weakening. And then they backed off, and then inflation flared back up again before they finally quashed it. We can't repeat that mistake. They've said this, and all of the Fed members have said this in one way, shape, or form. So it's very important to understand that they want this message to be out there. Okay, really key. We have this, Fed's QT to hit full stride with central bank shrinking $9 trillion portfolio, unwind to increase this week to $95 billion per month. We'll see what they actually do, but this is the level, okay? September was when they started to bring this in at a more realistic level, trying to bring that nearly $9 trillion balance sheet down to levels that are more reasonable, I guess, if you want to call it that. They say they're going to get down to, let's say, 6.5 or so. I don't know if they'll ever get there, but here it is. Mortgage rates will fall to 4.5% in 2023. That's the estimate from Fannie Mae. This is interesting because they have, I read the article, they have absolutely no backing behind why they've decided that, but they believe that, we're going through a cycle here and that in 2023, things are going to really change. I haven't seen that at all, but hey, that's Fannie Mae and that's what they're saying. And if that's the case, then it would ease pressure on the home buyers. It would ease pressure on, of course, what you see with, basically everything related to homes. The prices of commodities and all that is really important for homes because that's one of the big buyers. There's had that insatiable appetite for lumber because they're putting extensions on their home and they're adding garages and they're all these different things. And now I wanted to show you this briefly. I'll talk more about it in a second. EU plans emergency steps and structural fixes to power market. Electricity prices in Europe soared almost tenfold in 1 year. So they want to do this and that. What do they usually do? They create some sort of new, alphabet type of fund, and then they try to seem like that's gonna fix it. Is really weird and odd, but anyway, they're apparently gonna fix it. So we'll see, my friends in the EU, what they plan on doing. But we have to understand, beyond that, what's been going on. And this is one example. Cubans flee islands' economic woes by air, land, and sea. And then this is just showing us Iraq. And basically the protesters, they're furious. They go inside the presidential palace, they storm it, and so on. Now, these are just two examples, but the point here is that when people are desperate, they will take desperate measures. They'll do anything they have to. If your food, if your energy prices go up to levels that people start having difficulty paying for it, then you will have civil unrest and you will have lack of prosperity, and they will show up directly in the economy. And when I say it will show up in the economy, just check this out, especially my friends in Europe. But look, this is a signal for everybody, okay? In Europe, energy crisis drives growing cutbacks. And you'll look here what it all means. They have an example, big picture. In late July, the EU 27 member state agreed to voluntarily cut gas consumption by 15% between August and March. So they're preparing for the winter. And I believe I have that here. I'll show you in a second. But this is going to be very, very painful. Okay. Yeah, they're going to cut by 15%. Is that going to solve the problem? No, but they want to basically figure something out. And that shows you for Germany and Spain, Italy, France, and so on, all having, some problem to one degree or another. I am concerned about this, of course, and I worry about my friends in Europe. Europe faces terrible winters for the next 5 to 10 years without a gas price cap. It's not the price cap that's the problem. You need more of the gas. That's the issue. That's what's going on here. You need more of it. Okay? It's not as if the consumption had gone up dramatically. No, it's what's going on. There's geopolitical problems. The Nord Stream 2, if that would have come on, I have a very big feeling that we wouldn't be in the situation that we were in today. This is huge because if Europe slows down, they go into recession, there's difficulty there. It's going to spread all around the world. We can't have one country or continent fall without it affecting the rest, okay, to one degree or another. Half cows, entire pigs. Families are buying meat in bulk to save money. And this is just one example, of course, but you will see this time and time again how shoppers change their habits, and that has shown up in many different cases. All right, stayed until this point. I wanted to give you the details. Okay, so check this out. Goldman Sachs has something for you, and this may be of interest, and I believe we should be paying attention to Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and Michael Burry and just about everybody, but most importantly, look at the raw data to make sense of it for yourself. Check this out. So we'll start looking here. Rally hopes crumble as Powell's rates reality hits full force. They didn't believe it was coming, and now here we are. Looking at Goldman specifically, Goldman says buy commodities, quote, worry about recession later. Slowdown risks outside of Europe seem relatively low. That's what they're saying. And essentially, you had them before, and I've been talking about this for quite some time, is that they believe that this is a commodity super cycle, meaning prices could escalate much further from here on out. So take that into what you believe. Look at what Warren Buffett is doing, buying Occidental Petroleum to a great degree. What does he believe? It's not just about one thing, of course, but you gotta really address it for what it is, okay? The commodities super cycle could be on, and if that's the case, we're only at the beginning. And this one, the narrative of housing shortage beginning to crumble. That's right, you've got a problem here when suddenly rates go up and now inventory just suddenly builds. And there isn't really a shortage there. So is it speculation or is it actual shortage? And then we have this to finish it off. Home sale cancellations rise in a remarkably uncertain time for the market. And that's, of course, what you see. When borrowing costs are higher, a slowdown commences. Always remember that this is a coordinated effort globally. When you look at the central banks, they've done it over and over and over again. And we've watched this pattern. I've been covering it here on this channel, showing you each and every detail. I have to look at the excruciating minutia of all that which is the central banks. I bring that to you, condense it down. When you look at it, I think it's pretty clear. They want one thing, and they want to create a recession. This is all planned. It's all coordinated. If you found this valuable, you want to subscribe to the channel, do that by clicking below. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.